Tonight on Countdown to Green, we take a look back at last year's championship finale. We recap all the moves from eNASCAR free agents. And we look ahead to the 2025 Clash at Daytona. All of that and more coming up on Countdown to Green.
Hello and welcome to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. This is Countdown to Green, and we are getting ready for the Clash at Daytona. I'm your host, Camille Salazar-Hadaway. Joining me, as always, we have Alan Cavana and newly appointed third seat right here on Countdown to Green, Ryan Vargas. How are you two doing?
Camille, it's awesome. It's so awesome to be back, and it's awesome to welcome a new team member in. Blake has graduated. Blake has graduated to now being a driver in the series. And what did we do? We went and got a real-world driver to help replace the man that's going to the Coca-Cola series. Ryan, welcome to the team.
Man, Blake left some big shoes to fill, but I know he's going to put on an absolute show out there every single week in the Coca-Cola series, and I just hope I could kind of at least make up for all the lost ground he's had in the points when it comes to our picks.
Hey, I'm afraid of your picks, Ryan. I'm not going to lie. And you know what? Since Blake's not here, that means we could kind of make fun of him a little bit, but we'll leave that for a little later, of course. It is nice to be back here with all of you getting ready for the race ahead. Of course, it is the Clash at Daytona, which, doesn't really mean anything for points, and there's no money on the line. But what it does mean is that we get to get a little look at what drivers are bringing this season and what to expect. And that's what I'm really excited about when I look to the Clash. I feel like it's a really fun race, and we're going to talk more about it. But we also have other things on the eNASCAR board. We have the College Series. And remember, the College Series is currently open, and qualifying for Round 6 is still open. So make sure you put down your hot lap in eNASCAR College iRacing Series Time Attack. You want to make sure to check that out and see if you could qualify. We talk to winners all the time, Ryan, about the College Series. You could get some money to help you out with that tuition.
Oh yeah, no, it's a huge deal, and you see all these racers here, they're all fighting for that tuition money, right? But none of them really stood a chance against the reigning Coke Series champion Parker White, who gets the win in this race. But look at these paint schemes. Look at they all have the drivers' names on them and the universities that they represent. It's so unique, this platform that iRacing provides for all these incredibly talented sim racers to go in here, fight for some extra tuition money, and be able to perform at a high level. And not only that, be able to rub fenders. You see a lot of crazy racing, hopping over the curb. You saw a lot of fender banging, bumper banging there. A lot of chaos.
Yeah, a lot of chaos in the College Series. But, when you're thinking of what the College Series could bring to the main series, what does that look like for you and for people that may be tuning in to the College Series for the first time?
Well, yeah, I mean, the big thing is you see a lot of guys trying to work their way up through the ladder. A lot of these guys came through Road to Pro, Contender, and they're out here duking it out in the College Series race. Like I mentioned, our reigning champion in the Coke Series, Parker White, you see him right there, getting it done for the University of Maine at Augusta. So just a really cool deal there, and awesome platform.
Well, remember, Round 6 is open, so get your lap in the eNASCAR College iRacing Series Time Attack. Now, we got a lot to talk about today because although it's the Clash and maybe drivers are feeling a little bit of ease, they probably weren't feeling ease on Media Day, Alan, where the tough questions were asked.
Yeah, that depends on how you feel in front of the camera. You, me, and Ryan, we love it. We love being in front of the camera. But you look at what they were doing. This was a few weeks ago in Charlotte. 38 of our 40 drivers got to come to Charlotte. What a cool event this was, Camille. And go through the production day, go through the kind of the media training, giving thumbs up, doing the interviews, getting all the glitz and glam that you see on the big productions. When you tune into the NASCAR races on Sunday, you see all the stuff like this, the video packages, the graphics and everything. Our drivers got that treatment a few weeks ago. Look at that mullet. Oh, what a beautiful mullet. That deserves to be in 4K. As many K as there are, it deserves to be on there. But they came from all over, from Canada, from California. That's the group picture there. Again, 38 of our 40 drivers were there. They got to bond with each other. It's funny. A lot of these guys, they don't get to see each other. And now they're hanging out. They're going to dinner. Jordi Lopez got to go over and to the Penske shop, and they got to see the Hall of Fame. And it's just cool to connect those worlds. And the fact that that we spend so much time, obviously, online, and in this world, everyone got to be together in Charlotte. It was very cool. Just cool to get everyone together, Ryan.
Well, Ryan, with that said, we got to talk about the new teams that are included in the series this year. I feel like.
Hold on a second.
It's pretty exciting, but you want to talk about Media Day. Yes.
Yeah. I got to jump in. Alan, we got to talk about this. What's going on over there in the far right? Are you trying to swing some clubs here? Are you trying to get yourself acquainted with, swinging clubs here at Topgolf? What's going on here?
Please tell me there's no video of what I was trying to do. I mean, I was trying to...
Producers, do we have a video?
Yeah.
Do we have a video that maybe we could post on socials if it's not ready for the show?
I didn't sign up for this. I didn't sign up. All right, look, there was a great outing at Topgolf, and I had to show everybody how it was done. So hopefully they got one of my good shots and not one of the many bad shots on everybody.
But which one was good, and out of how many shots? I'll let you answer that on social media for everyone to tune in to see how bad you really are at golf. But for now, Media Day, yes, was fun for teams also being able to size each other up. And speaking of teams, we got new teams that are coming into the series, Ryan.
Yeah, absolutely. We got a couple new teams here. Apex Racing Team, one of the top sim racing teams on the iRacing service. They compete amongst some of the highest levels of various road racing series on iRacing. They hop into the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series for the first time this season. You see ERA Esports Team. They're jumping into this, owned by real-life driver Jesse Wuji, fan favorite. Always good to see him getting involved. Hayak Motorsports. They were formerly JTG Motorsports. Now they're switching over to Hayak, now with principal owner Gordon Smith, so technically returning there, pretty cool. But then we got Jim Beaver Esports, one of the teams that are returning, right? First time back since 2023. They were fighting for the top 3 in teams championship. Really cool to see Jim Beaver return. Big presence in off-road racing.
Yes, and we love to see those teams join in, Ryan. And here you have a glimpse of some of these new teams that are joining in a hope to win that championship. Right, Ryan?
Oh, yeah. No, we're getting a pretty good look at the teams here. As you see right here, we're kind of running a unique paint scheme here tonight. You can see Colin Keister driving for Jim Beaver Esports here. You see Quentin Warman there in the middle for Hayak, getting pushed and shoved around by Nick Ottinger. Just a lot of interesting paint schemes. That's one of the cool things we're doing here for the Clash, right? With the names all on the cars, getting everybody used to it. That's the big thing there.
Well, the paint schemes, we're going to have to talk more about that because we have some fun in Clash at Daytona. But before we get to that, we got to talk about the movements, and we have some free agency movement as well, Alan.
Oh, yeah, big names. I mean, not only with new teams, but the drivers themselves. The biggest names, look, 13 of the 31 returning drivers are moving to a new team. And the biggest names, though, include 2 different champions. Casey Kerwin, former champ, goes from Spire over to Kansas City Pioneers. And Steven Wilson moves from M80 over to Spire. That's big news. And then we saw some full team acquisitions. Michael Guest, Malik Ray, they go over to Vegas Inferno. Michael Cozy, Bobby Zielinski, the perennial Championship 4 contender, goes over to ERA Esports. And then a bunch of other drivers. They made big changes. Cody Bias, Zach Novak, a bunch of changes on that side. Now you do the math, and there were plenty that stayed. 18 of the 31 drivers stayed with their team for 2025. And 5 teams stayed exactly the same. That's important. BS Plus Competition stayed the same. Kevin Harvick Incorporated, RFK, William Byron Esports, that awesome team of Nick Ottinger and Tucker Minter. That's still a dynamic duo. Williams Esports of Strauss and Parker White, the champ. They are still together. And then you have a bunch of drivers that stayed within their team. But every year, with relegation, with the free agents that come in, it's important to track these changes. And those 2 champions I mentioned at the top, Camille, that have changed their team, like Casey Kerwin and former champ Steven Wilson, that's a big deal for those teams to inherit a champion.
Oh, yes. Inheriting a champion is very big news, and we're going to have to see if those movements come into fruition in a championship win for some of these teams. But first, I talked about paint schemes earlier. We were kind of hinting to them. It's Clash at Daytona, so we'd like to have fun with the paint schemes. You're going to see paint schemes that are very different than what the drivers usually have. This is, of course, because we're having fun at the Clash. And I want to also mention that iRacing graphic designer Larry Fulcher actually created unique 20 paint schemes for this race, which, I mean, that's a feat on its own. So props to you, Larry, as well. And I think they do a really good job. The only one, though, that does have their same paint scheme because they are the championship winner, Parker White, which is going to still have that red banner on his paint scheme to make him stand out. What do you guys think of this?
Yeah, no, I love this. I think it's really unique. Obviously, there's a lot of movement happening. We just talked about some of the free agency moves, right? So getting a look at all these drivers with their new team, seeing their name slapped on the side of it with their number right on the roof, I think it's the easiest way for us to just all get accustomed to seeing these drivers and, for the most part, a lot of their new seats.
Yeah, special events, special paint schemes. I love that, especially to get, again, accustomed to which team drivers are with now. And if you're an old school race fan, this really reminds you of the iRock series, being a special event, and you have kind of these uniform paint schemes, but slightly different. It's very much like old school iRock, and anybody loves something that's old school. I like this tonight.
Yeah, and we just saw a glimpse of Blake McCandless's paint scheme as well, his little paint there. So props for him to making that jump over the desk into the racing this season. And now we want to get to the schedule ahead. Of course, it's the season where we're going to have a lot of races and a lot of chances for these drivers to show their stuff. Let's first talk to segment 1. Ryan, take us through some of these races. What are you most looking forward to?
Yeah, right now I'm looking at segment 1 here, right? You got the usuals, right? Daytona, Las Vegas, Richmond, Rockingham, which that one's not usual. It's coming back, right? But here's what I'm focusing on. Interlagos. For the 3rd year in a row, the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series makes an international venture to Interlagos. This is an incredible opportunity here for the series. It's really cool to see these next-gen race cars take on this racetrack. This is a popular one out there, and seeing the NASCAR Brazil Series getting to take this track on in real life, really cool to see that, you know, we're able to kind of bring these cars to these tracks in the virtual world.
Yes, you gotta love it. Of course, we have segment 2, April 22nd, Talladega, Charlotte, Nashville, Kansas. But I'm looking at that segment 3, Alan, because we have some interesting things right before we get into playoffs.
Yeah, but by the time we get to segment 3, you are running out of chances to make the playoffs. And segment 3 is such filled with variety. You got the short track at Iowa, high speeds at Dover, Chicago street course, which is always cool on a fixed setup, and of course, Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But then look where the regular season ends. Atlanta, of all places. Call it what you want, a super speedway, a kind of mix in between. It is a drafting track that will lead to packs worth of chaos, especially, guys, when a playoff spot is on the line. The last chance to make it in the playoffs, the last chance to give yourself a shot at $100,000 comes down to a drafting track. Are you kidding me? Whoever set up this schedule knew what they were doing this year. The drama at the end of the season is going to be packed because the final regular season finale is at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Great stuff.
And you know what, Alan? I like a little drama. I'm looking forward to it. Right now we have Parker White. We're just taking a quick look at practice here.
Ooh, and oh, man. Aggressive.
He's trying to be
aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, I was just about to say he's trying to make it known that he's coming for everyone. He has the championship banners, of course. He wants people to know that he's there, and he's going to be maybe a little aggressive during the race. Maybe.
Yep. And a new number for Parker this year, too. Switching to the 95, who was the 51 last season. New number for him, but keeping that red banner on top. He's hoping to continue that into this season.
Look, I love it. Like, a lot of times we don't practice racing, but man, this looks like the raciest practice I've ever seen. So they're really getting their laps in, and they're doing as much as they can before we get to this clash tonight, which is all just supposed to be having fun. And they're trying. Oh, there we go. See you, Michael Guest. There you go.
I mean, it's supposed to be fun, but all these drivers take it very seriously. It's a good way to size up the competition for the season ahead, but we want to size up the track. Ryan, tell us what to expect.
Man, well, speaking of size, we're at one of the biggest tracks on the circuit. We are at a 2.5-mile super speedway here in Daytona Beach, Florida. Banking here in the turns, 31 degrees, but the tri-oval at 18 degrees. That tri-oval can get really tricky, especially when all these guys are bunched up. This place opened in 1959, and last year's winner of the Clash was Wyatt Tinsley in his first attempt.
Nice. I mean, it's going to be really great going into this race because it is a bit different. It is a Clash. So, Alan, how does this race program look?
Yeah, this is going to be different than we see most weeks. We're calling them heat races here on the graphic, but think of them as the duels. If you were imagining the Daytona 500, we got 2 dual races to set it up, 10 laps each, no cautions. The first heat will set the inside line for the main event feature. The second heat will set the outside line. And again, this is exhibition. No points on the line, no money, nothing like that. Just fun, bragging rights to go get yourself a trophy. The feature is 20 laps. And it's all about getting that one spot, checkered flag, and bragging rights for when we come back for the season, when the season begins again here at Daytona. You want to come in with a little, I don't know, gravitas. You want to come in with that trophy and say, I've already done it. Do it again.
I mean, hey, and speaking for the 3 of us, I would say we also want to just come into the next show and say, hey, look at us. Our pick did it, and we're going to do it again by picking, I see you, Ryan. I see you. You're stretching. You're getting ready. Well, let's talk about driver picks because that's something that we like to do here on Countdown to Green to have a little fun. And how this works pretty much is the drivers, based on how they place, we will pick a driver for each race. How they place, they will get a certain amount of points. That goes to our collection of points, and there will be only one of the 3 of us that will be deemed a winner. Alan, you won last year, so congratulations. I'll give you last. Well,
I forgot I won. Thanks for reminding me, Camille.
You're welcome. I'm coming for you. But I'm also scared of Ryan. So why don't we start off there with Ryan? Ryan, who's your pick for tonight?
Man, I hope that I am not the only one that picked this guy because I feel like it's an obvious choice. I went with Michael Cozy Jr. This dude is always at the front at the super speedways, battling for the wins, consistently a threat week in and week out when it comes to these drafting tracks. And it doesn't matter if it's the Coke Series or a different league or a random, massive, prestigious race on iRacing. He's going to be at the front. And I think he's going to be at the front when that checkered flag flies tonight.
All right. Not bad. Look, that'd be a big win for a new team Michael Cozy Jr. is on, but not going to happen, Ryan. We're going back to the champ. Casey Kerwin's going to win this tonight. He's Mr. Clash. All he does is win these Clash races, winner of the last 3. And this race can get out of hand sometimes. People get angry. There's nothing on the line. No one gets mad at Casey Kerwin. You just follow him and you push him to the lead, and he puts on the show. Casey Kerwin wins tonight, Camille.
All right, well, guess what? There's no money and no points on the line for us. So I decided to have fun with this. Let's go with our man, Blake McCandless, repping Countdown to Green, or, ex-Countdown to Green member. And I honestly just wanted to see how he would do his pose because I was curious of that. I'm like, Blake, how are you going to do this pose? I want to see. And he did a good job. So we're going to have fun with that one. Yeah, he's trying to be tough. I hope you all have fun. You know what? You guys should just let us know your picks at home. Who do you think is going to take the race? Let us know. Be sure to tag us on all social medias as well. But for now, guess what? We got the race, we got the Clash at Daytona, and we're all looking forward to it. We are finally back, baby, for the season ahead. So stay tuned right after this break as the race commences.
Every time you sit behind the wheel, you buckle up for the unexpected. You get ready to take on the competition and brace yourself for the chaos, the speed, the weather, the unknown. But above all, when strapping in, you put trust in yourself, your intuition, making your guide to win, your drive to win.
He's a winner in this.
And nothing is going to stop you from winning.
This is iRacing. Live from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway, we say good evening, sim racing fans, and welcome to the Clash at Daytona. Well, we are still a few weeks away from officially opening the 2025 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series, but tonight the 40 best sim racers in the world are ready to go racing for the first time in this calendar year. And after an off season, we are so happy to once again say thanks for being with us on this Tuesday night. As always, my name is Evan Pasoko. Happy to be welcoming to the eNASCAR broadcast booth this evening. The newest member to our team is Kenneth Bueno, and Kenneth, happy to have you along for the ride tonight on the road to over $500,000.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun. Thank you guys so much for having me. It's going to be a wonderful season. And in the 16th edition of eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series Racing, it feels like we've seen it all. But when you go to a track like Daytona and you kick off a brand new season, the feeling is just as similar as it is every single year. It's a feeling of anticipation, excitement, and just getting ready for all the drivers to show what they can do on the road to a championship at the year end.
It feels right. It feels good to be here in Daytona, and we're excited to maybe get just a little bit of a sneak peek of what's going to happen when we race for real for the first time in a couple of weeks' time. There's new faces, new teams aplenty, and today will be a good introduction to all of that. But as always, we talk about the format for the Clash, and as the crew on Countdown to Green was talking about, we'll start with 2 heat races. You can kind of think of them as de facto duels. 10-lap heats with the field split in half, no caution flags no matter what happens. The finishing result from heat race number 1 will set the inside line for today's feature, and the finishing order for heat number 2 will feature the outside lanes, and then we'll do it for real. 20 laps on the board, admin controlled caution flags only. And my favorite part, I think, at the belt coming here for the Clash is the iRock vibes from those custom paint schemes that everybody's sporting here today.
Yeah, and every week or so, you see the drivers have their own paint schemes from their teams, but iRacing gets to have a little fun with the Clash. It was Larry Fulcher who designed the paint schemes for tonight's race. He's the iRacing graphic designer, and he spent a ton of time going through all 20 of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series teams, and he put on a lot of banger schemes for all of the teams, making sure each and every driver, each and every team is represented in the best way possible. The big special thing is Parker White, the defending champ, Evan.
Yeah, not all things are created equal in the Clash, and that is that Parker White, your defending eNASCAR world champion, still has those red championship playoff markers on his car. You'll see the red roof number, the windshield banners, the spoilers. Just how he ended 2024 is how he will kick off this 2025 season. By winning that championship last year, Parker became the 6th different first-time champion in a row, the longest such streak in series history. Well, let's go trackside and take a look at your Coca-Cola starting grid. And in the qualifying session, Eddie Kerner and Steven Wilson tied for the best time on the board. Therefore, they'll each bring each of our heat races to the green. It's Kerner leading the way. Blaze Crawford will start in the number 2 position. They'll make up row number 1. William Byron Esports' Nick Ottinger going to be alongside the BS Competition 89 of Jordy Lopez. Cody Bias and Christopher Hill are going to make up the next duo, accompanied by Donovan Strauss, your defending champion Parker White. Matt Busa and Malik Ray take us halfway home. That's through P10.
Back in 11th is Brian Mercurio, who's going to fill in for Vicente Salas for Tony Kanaan Esports. Junior Motorsports brings Briar LaPrade back for the moment on the outside of row 6 of the starting grid. Zach Novak, 2019 eNASCAR Coke champion, going to line up on the inside of row 7 for Channel 199 Sim Racing, that rebranded Nitro Circus camp. And Blake McCandless from the broadcast booth to the racetrack. He's on the outside of row 7. That's position number 14. Femi Olot welcomes with Spire Motorsports is number 7 for 2025. He's on the inside of row 8. Casey Kerwin makes a big jump to the KCP, Kansas City Pioneers. He'll roll off on the outside in 16th, followed by Bobby Zelensky, 17th for ERA Esports. Kevin Harvick Incorporated with Jimmy Mullis going to be 18th on the grid. And then our final 2 drivers in this 20-car heat race, Ryan Loser for FGR XL and Taylor Hurst bringing up the rear of Heat 1 for Team Dillon Esports.
It's looked top to bottom at your Coca-Cola starting grid, and the man with the best seat in the house is Eddie Kerner. Let's see if you can get him dialed up on the radio, Kenneth.
All right, well, we'll see if we can get Mr. Eddie Ball on here. Mr. Eddie, welcome to the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. I'm sure you're excited. What are your overall thoughts about taking on the Clash and just getting used to race conditions this evening?
Well, I'm happy to be here. Happy to be in the series. It's been a long time coming, and happy to be representing Six Karma. I'm looking forward to the race. I've raced with a bunch of these guys before, so a little nervous, but should be fun.
You know, this race doesn't really have a lot of stakes to it. No grand prize, no entry to the playoffs, but a checkered flag is a checkered flag. So what are you going to try to do out there and learn over the course of this race to get the win?
Well, I think everyone is just, it's all risk and no conservative. We're all going 100% and just looking for a win, have some fun tonight.
Well, Eddie, we appreciate the time. Welcome to the Coke Series, as we say. Congratulations on pole in Heat 1. We'll see what you can do in the race.
Eddie is one of 8 true rookies in the field here in 2025. Fittingly, that he is representing one of 4 new teams in this series with Six Karma, a Latin American esports giant that competes in various competitions with titles such as League of Legends, Valorant, and now here on the iRacing service. Everybody going to make it to the feature race, but how is your night going to start? That is what is on the line right now in heat race number 1. 20 cars, 10 laps, no cautions. Get Eddie Kerner kick off 2025 with his first Coke Series checkered flag. Pace car down and in. It's Kerner and Crawford on the front row. We're racing in heat race number 1. Already making moves 3 wide. The 89 of Jordy Lopez to the outside of the racetrack. That 96 of Christopher Hill follows suit. 3 abreast off of 2. And the 19 machine of Kerner. Big block to the outside. That's going to stack them up 4 wide just for a moment.
And Malik Ray going to be on the inside there with Junior Motorsports' Blake McCandless behind him. You can tell just how one block can easily kill your momentum. And Eddie Kerner, who started this heat at the very front of the field, now having to scrap for positions all the way back in the top 20. A 4 or so car breakaway leaves the outside open for Blaze Crawford to take the lead and keep lap 1 in his hands. Parker White and Cody Bias right behind him to turn 1.
So Crawford has the advantage. That 95 of Parker White pushes him out to a large gap in the midfield. Got it clogged up 3 wide as that mid-pack can't get it sorted out. Again, no yellows. Everybody knows they're going to get to the feature, so you heard it with the interview on pole sitter Eddie Kerner. These drivers going to be aggressive right from the jump. No reason to take it easy. There's a look at Blake McCandless, drafted with the 1 of Malik Ray. They'll go down to the inside. It's 4 cars up top, 2 cars on the bottom. Here's the look on board with our former booth mate in Blake McCandless, one of the rookies in the series this year in Raleigh, North Carolina, and he's also out of the line. Everybody goes to the middle. The 8 car, no help down low.
You know what, Blake last year was a little more relaxed because he had the third-person perspective that we have. It's much more different when you're behind the wheel with 20 of the other better race car drivers in eNASCAR. When you're up against this competition at a track like this, your mental acuity has to be so high, and Blake is just getting a feel for it, back in 14th now, but everyone's switching their lines. You can tell when it's a mad dash to only a 10-lap heat race to put yourself in a good lineup for the feature later on tonight. You're going to do whatever you can and throw those haymakers. And look on board with one of the newer teams in eNASCAR, Vegas Inferno, with Malik Ray, who of course is known as one of the better super speedway drivers in this series, taking part in the inside lane and just trying to get Casey Kerwin to the front on the bottom.
The Inferno are the official esports team of the city of Las Vegas. They also compete in titles like Apex Legends and Madden, and as a former resident, I should say, of Las Vegas, I like the gold on that one car down on the bottom of the racetrack. Again, look on that left-hand side of your screen. You'll see only 10 laps in this race, and you can basically see all 20 cars within 1 second of each other. The outside line had a good advantage the last 2 trips around the racetrack, but now it's the inside who pulls the advantage. That 20 machine of Casey Kerwin rockets out to the lead. The 22 of Bobby Zelensky pushing him. That's the ERA Esports car in the number 2 spot. Trouble off at turn 4. Spinner and a huge pile up off the turn. Matt boosts into the inside wall. Nick Ottinger keeps it out. No cautions, so we'll stay green. That's at least 4 drivers involved.
And as soon as they got checked up on the bottom, it was the 62 car got out of shape, pushed Parker, or rather Donovan Strauss up the racetrack, and then Cody Bias just gets a hit there from Nick Ottinger. All of them now going to be at the back end of the field, probably hoping that a yellow could come out sometime soon, either for them or another accident further up the road. But already halfway through the feature, we're already seeing the different lanes be of use. It's what we'll see over the course of the season at the super speedways, the differences in organization between the high line, between the low line, and what you can do with the drivers around you. But Casey Kerwin has found his way to the front. Not that he may hold it for that long, because the competition is coming soon. Blake McCandless gets hooked up with his teammate Brian LaPrade. Junior Motorsports looking for the entry to turn 1 with the lead.
Nice crossover by Malik Ray down to the inside of the racetrack, and he add his name to the list of former Clash winners, now back in Daytona for a 2nd straight season after a couple of years out west at the LA Coliseum. The 19 of Eddie Kerner looking to the middle of the racetrack. Femi Olatunbosin going to be the help in the middle. They'll accompany the 2 of Zach Novak, so 3 cars behind all of this, but Malik Ray and Casey Kerwin liking the view out front. They've got the advantage as we'll come by this time. Looking at 4 laps to go. Still some smoke lingers in the tri-oval from the accident the previous time around. There's a look at Lopez. Momentum not on his side. And the outside line rockets out to 7. Now 8 cars have an advantage. Everybody jockeying for position now at 4 to go.
Yeah, but as soon as, Evan, you see the outside lane form with a heap of cars, the patronage moves to the bottom. Everyone starts trying to make moves, and Blaze Crawford, who already led a lap or so earlier on in this first heat, will take the lead again. He's been stuck with Parker White and Donovan Strauss, the 2 Williams Esports cars, and one of those teams that retained both of their drivers from last season, so they're really excited about that in an attempt to get another team in Drivers' Championship. And you see single file now, but remember, this will not last long. Coming to 3 laps to go. Eddie Kerner, the pole sitter, is back on the inside. Femi Olat to help to the stripe.
And that Williams duo, really the only team linked up that we've seen committed to each other thus far. Remember, a lot of technical alliances as well that go beyond those teams that are at the forefront, which drivers will definitely have a say in how they work with one another. That 19 clear on the bottom. Kerner goes topside. The 7 of Olatunbosin follows him with 3 on the bottom. Everybody else on the outside line. When do you make the move for the heat race win? It's going to be 2 laps to go this time by, and despite being outnumbered, look at the push on the inside. Jordy Lopez absolutely blasts that 29 through. There's almost trouble. What a save as that 29 came up the racetrack. Mullis got sideways, reeled it back in. Another big bubble that time as they come out of the tri-oval.
And they are pushing hard into the corner. You can tell that when you are getting pushed here at Daytona in this format, you're going to have to hold on for your britches and look to the inside again. Blaze Crawford, Parker White, and Donovan Strauss are not giving this up. It's a revolving door of race cars in this first team. Saw a bunch of drivers start from the back, move to the front, and then those who moved to the back are now back at the front. And the Dominican, Jordy Lopez, makes the move in turn 3. He's got the lead coming to the white flag as Blaze Crawford looks underneath.
Looked like Lopez wanted to leave the inside of the racetrack open. Crawford goes low. Lopez gets the high side. Look at the 24 to the bottom of the racetrack. What a move there, as trying to serpentine through traffic is lapped car Casey Kerwin. No, 24th to 3rd in a single lap for the KC Pioneers machine. Final time in 1 and 2. The inside has the advantage. Does that one car stay loyal?
And it's going to feel like a long time off of turn 2 in this Daytona Daytona super stretch. No moves being made yet. Brian LaPrade swings down low. He'll take the bottom alley with Jordi Lopez, and here comes Parker White to give the effort on the outside. It's 2 versus 2 on the exit of 3 and 4 for the final time. LaPrade has the nose ahead.
He's got the advantage on the inside. The 24 to the outside of the racetrack. Who's going to beat it to the stripe? LaPrade pushed by Lopez. Can't get underneath him. And Briar LaPrade will lead one single lap en route to the win in heat race number 1. Jordi tried to find a gap on the bottom. Could not make it move in the end, and Brian LaPrade, look at that smile. Yeah, there's no points, there's no cash on the line. That's gotta feel good. He's got number 1 on the year.
It always feels good to get a checkered flag, especially after he got his first last season at Michigan. LaPrade does it in phenomenal style. And remember, Evan, at midway through this heat race, we had only one driver start from outside of the top 10 in the top 5 at the checkered flag. 4 drivers who started 10th or worse make their move to the front, including LaPrade, who started 12th. So wonderful moves by all of them, and LaPrade gets the win in Heat 1.
Yeah, with the exception of Jordi Lopez, who started that race in 4th and came home 2nd. All your other top finishers from the 10s and the teens. You take a look at your full race results, and that is a lot of Chevrolet in the top 10. LaPrade, Lopez, and Kerwin in that almost 3-wide battle to the start-finish line. To Bobby Zelensky 4th, and Malik Ray ends up in 5th. Parker White comes home in the number 6 spot. Jimmy Mullis in 7th. Femi Olatunbosin in 8th. Zach Novak 9th, and Christopher Hill rounds out the top 10.
And then back in 11th is where you'll find Eddie Kerner, who sat on the pole for the heat race. Blaze Crawford led a couple laps. He was up there, but falls back to 12th. Donovan Strauss for Williams Esports ends up in 13th. Blake McCandless had a shot at the race lead, looked for 14th at the checkered flag with Ryan Luza, Brian Mercurio, Cody Bias, Taylor Hurst, Nick Onger, and Matt Busa rounding out the top 20. Things move fast at a 10-lap heat, Evan, so if we only saw the chaos in the first one, we're probably going to see the same with the different competition in the second heat.
I was impressed. Only 3 cars don't make it to the end of that race. So a relatively clean, I would say, for a caution-free heat race at Daytona. We'll see if the drivers in heat race number 2 were taking notes, especially for the top driver in that second or first heat race, I should say. But as we get set to go trackside and take a look at the starting grid for the second race, let's talk with the man who started things off with the checkered flag. Kenneth, your race winner in heat race number 1 is Briar LaPrade.
All right, Briar, geeking at the start-finish line. You win heat number 1. What was it like out there?
I don't know if my mic's working, but absolutely chaotic. Okay, cool. It wasn't showing up on mine. But, it's preseason. We're getting some things out of the way, technical difficulties, all that stuff. But we're getting some checkered flags. It's a heat win. We'll take it. Shout out to Steven Steffen there for helping me get through there. That was chaotic, man. That was really wild. But, yeah, if that's how Daytona's going to be like here in 2 weeks, I'm going to be scared, maybe right in the back. I don't know. But I'm just glad we made that work. So we're going to have a good starting spot for the feature. Another quick 20-lap dash there, and hopefully we have the same result.
One positive foot in the door for 2025 with the Heat 1 win. Congratulations on the Heat win, Briar. We'll see you in the feature later tonight.
Thank you.
That is Briar LaPrade taking Heat number 1 for Junior Motorsports, Evan.
And with that, 20 more lined up and ready to go at it. Let's go trackside once more. Take a look at your Coca-Cola starting grid. Steven Wilson ended last season 1 position away from a back-to-back championship, looking for redemption, and he is on pole for heat race number 2, joined to the outside by the Kansas City Pioneers number 48 machine of Graham Bolin. Back on row number 2, it is Quentin Warman and Alexander Russell, so 2 new names that will be looking to follow throughout the season. They're ahead of the 6 Karma 39 machine of Daniel Falkenham and the ERA Sports team number 34 of Michael Cozy Jr. Back on row number 4, it is the Channel 199 Sim Racing machine. That's Dylan Duvall and the Vegas Inferno number 21 of Michael Guest. And to round out your top 10 starters in this one, the 47 of Dylan Alt and the 40 of Connor Urashek.
Rookie Nate Stewart lines it up on the inside of row number 6 for Jim Beaver Esports. RFK going to be represented by Timmy Holmes in the 17 on the outside in position number 12. Tyler Gary and Logan Clampett. How about the pair of E-Racer cars going to be on the inside and outside of row 7 in this heat? Kwame Scott runs it with Latart Esports in 2025, and Tucker Minter runs it back with William Byron Esports on the outside in position 16. Colin Bowden going to be inside of row 9, followed by Garrett Lowe for BS Plus competition. And then our final row in the 20-car heat, Colin Keister for Jim Beaver Esports, and FGRXL brings back Seth the Merchant for 2025.
That's how they'll line up. So what did we learn from heat race number 1? Well, track position didn't really seem to be much of a saving grace. Kenneth, they were 3 wide before we even got to the center returns 1 and 2. So it seems like a race like this, you heard the comments from Brian LaPrade that if we're going to be doing this for the full race length in 2 weeks' time, he's going to be pretty worried about it. I don't know if it's going to be quite that crazy, but things were pretty wild the first time around. Let's get the thoughts for the man who's sitting on pole for this one. You've got Steven Wilson.
Indeed, I've got Spire Motorsports' Steven Wilson. Steven, Brian said he'd be scared if the racing like this happens in the main race in a couple weeks' time. What do you look to expect out of this heat race until the feature?
Yeah, I'll be honest, that first heat looked pretty clean compared to what I'm thinking we'll see here. I know we got a lot of guys who will make a lot of insane moves here, and I should be one of them here to try to keep the lead. So just excited to get the season started on pole, getting an interview already for Spire and all the boys back there. I want to thank my man Carson United Bowers for being on the box tonight.
And Steven is one of the drivers who's won a ton of races in eNASCAR competition. You get to represent a new team in 2025, like you say. So how exciting is it to represent Spire and kind of have a new chapter in your book in iRacing competition?
Yeah, I'm looking forward to, we've got David Schildhaus managing the team over here, and I'm a good friend of his, so I'm excited to be driving for him, and all the people at Spire Motorsports went over there. Well, we had media today. I met a lot of guys, so it's a lot of fun. They seem like a really awesome group, and just happy to have them on board this season.
All right, Steven, we appreciate the time. Congrats on the pole in heat number 2. We'll see what we can do in the heat race. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Steven Wilson going to line up the Chevrolet from Spire Motorsports as number 77 on the inside of row 1 to the green flag.
And just a reminder about the format for this race. 1 heat down, second one to go. The finishing results of this heat race will set the outside line for the feature. That means the winner will start second. The second place finisher will start fourth, so on and so forth. No caution flags. We saw 1 3-car accident in the first heat. Most of the field was unaffected, but that yellow did kind of break things up a little bit. We'll see if/when that happens in this second heat. And of course, Steven Wilson's got that championship trophy from his 2023 campaign prominently featured in that shot. We saw the same thing on board with Casey Kerwin. Lots of returning talent. We always talk about the rookies and that dynamic, but it has been the most competitive era in the history of this eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. 6 different champions in the last 6 seasons, and it feels like all of those were maybe a spot or 2 away from talking about more 2 or 3-time champs. It is just that hard to succeed at this very top level. Lights out on the pace car, and Steven Wilson going to get this one going this time through. He and Graham Bolin have fought for championships before. Today, they'll fight into turn number 1 as we get up to speed. Put 10 more laps on the board here in Daytona. It is heat race number 2 of the Clash. Orderly up front for the moment. How long does it last? A couple of cars look high, but the leaders of the outside lane, the 48 of Bolin, the 66 of Russell, also go high. Nobody dares go to the center. They'll be 2 by 2 as they head to the super stretch.
Well, this already, Evan, is a calmer start to what we saw in heat number 1. We immediately jumped to 3-wide action in the middle of the corner before it sort of broke up when we had a 5-car breakaway. But now it's looking a little more calm, even though we've got 3 wide now. And in the middle, Graham Bolin gets shuffled through. He'll have some help all the way at the back from Michael Guest for Vegas Inferno, but they are the only cars there in that middle lane. Look at the inside, broken away by at least 9 or 10 car lengths. Quentin Warman leads the first lap in heat 2, and here comes Dylan Duvall with a look up high and a big block down the tri-oval.
Steven Wilson all the way back in 9th spot after he tried to go to the outside to control that top lane down the backstretch, and everybody else worked with basically everybody but him. He'll have some space to bounce back in. The 5-car advantage that was on the bottom. Now all rides on the outside. Touch of 3 wide back there in traffic. That's the purple machine dropping down through the running order and finally finding a spot in line way towards the rear of the field there. As some of these drivers get shuffled out, there's a look at Colin Keister, Jim Beaver Esports. back in series competition after a hiatus in 2024. Good to see those colors back, and looks pretty calm for being on the inside of 3 wide. Every time those cars, though, dart high to low, low to high, especially in that tri-oval where they can get a little bit loose and unstable, makes me a touch nervous, but they seem pretty comfortable for being 3 wide at 198 miles an hour.
And when you're also running with fixed setups like we are in the Clash tonight, you're looking at a car that you cannot tinker with, a setup that you cannot alter over the course of the race. And naturally, these next-gen cars get a little snappy on these super speedways. They're a lot less planted to the ground than you would think with the high spoiler and all that downforce at the underbody of the race car. But it is looking clean up front. And now RFK Racing gets representation on the front row. Colin Bowden gets the push from Michael Guest in that golden black Chevrolet. And Nate Stewart right behind with the fellow teammate Colin Keister riding on board with several cars back with Michael Cozy Jr. ahead. So it is much calmer, but we may see the moves happen by the time halfway creeps up.
4 rookies in this race. You mentioned Stewart and Warman. They're inside of the top 10. Connor Urashak, P10 as well. Alexander Russell with a bit of work to do down in the number 15 spot are the true-blooded rookies. This won't technically count as their first career start. They'll have to wait till we do this for real in 2 weeks' time, and a playoff ticket is on the line. Pretty even car numbers inside lane and out. And after that pretty bad lap number 1 where Steven Wilson went from P1 to 9, he's already found himself back on the front row, leading the outside and getting pushed by that 50 Machine of Warman.
Well, we saw both of them move back, especially Graham Boland. We saw him earlier in this second heat get pushed through the sucker hole in the middle and just had nowhere to go with only one car to help right behind. So now him and Wilson get to share the front row once again with everybody behind them. How about a look from Alexander Russell? Talk about the rookies in this series. Well, Tony Kanaan Esports has a rookie in hand with Russell. He's in the middle of a bunch of movement down this super stretch. That's the 17, Timothy Holmes, trying to make a move, and Tucker Minter to help Russell on the outside, 3 wide momentarily, but still no mega moves at the front other than Graham Bowling sneaking up high in the bottom alley going to Colin Bowden. It is door to door, back to the stripe at lap 6.
6 Machine a little bit unsettled, and that 21 Machine backs off a touch. That's going to give the inside the run off and into turn number 1. Bolin, Wilson, Warman clear at the bottom just for the time being. We've seen moments of 3 wide, but nowhere near the frequency that we did in heat race number 1. Back in traffic, there's a little bit of a line trying to get going now. That 15 a Keister pushed by the 97 Machine, a Tucker Minter, and they keep finding more and more support, but it's a bit sloppy on the handoff. They almost fumbled that into turn 3, get all kinds of out of shape, and all of a sudden Steven Wilson is without help once more. He'll drop off on the inside, and the top for the moment has some room to breathe.
And we've got the inside rolling again, and what we saw in the first heat was that if you got enough organization on the bottom, you can make something happen. And how about Garrett Lowe taking a swing for the inside? Connor Urashak wanted to block on Michael Guest, and it absolutely stuffed up everyone on the inside, but Quentin Warman takes the lead, and another look at 3 wide. This is the excitement we saw in the first heat, now replicated in the second. They're starting to go all over the place.
Kwame Scott 4 laps down, not in this battle. Issues with Tyler Gary. He's dropped off at the back of the pack as well. Make it 18 cars strong, and here they go. 3 wide, center at 3 and 4. Middle lane, led by Dylan Duvall as they come off at turn number 4. It is a 3 wide drag race. The 199, the 21, they'll drop down to the inside line. Can the 5, the 42 and company, can they survive that third lane with less cars? That time by 3 laps to go in heat race number 2, and a little bit of evaporating going on as these lines try to get reformatted up, and they'll take another sprint at it. Logan Clampett with some work to do in the purple E-Racer car, stack it up on the bottom. Good save. That was the 40 of Urashak.
And they were nearly 4 wide entering turn 3 with the 2 Jim Beaver Esports cars of Keister and Nate Stewart, but luckily everyone keeps it all together. That's what happens when you send the block like that at Daytona with these cars. They get such a huge run in the wake of another. If you send the block, it is going to absolutely kill the momentum of the traffic and make things for you much more worsen your attempt to get to the front. And watch who's in second on the outside. Daniel Falkingham Arranca with 6 Karma Esports to the inside for the heat lead with 2 laps to go.
Has it, quickly goes back up to the outside. He knows their strength in numbers. 4 wide, right side of your screen. And a couple of cars sizzling out. The outside line bouncing off of the fence in the center of the back straightaway. It is Daniel Falkenham who leads into turns 3 and 4. Is there any way that car could hold on for another 3 miles? I don't know if we've gone a whole lap without a lead change so far in this heat race. That would not bode well if you're in the 39 camp. But a white flag in the air this time by one more time around in heat race 2.
Well, remember, Evan, in Heat 1, we had a crash that took out several drivers, so it sort of thinned out the field. But here you've got the explosiveness of all 20 drivers, all within at least a second or so apart from a couple. And here comes Tucker Minter with a huge push from FGR Excels. Seth the Merchant on the inside. But again, if you've got the lead at the super stretch, you may not hold it for long. They're 3 wide, which will stifle the run in the middle quite a bit. But Tucker Minter has all the headway to the front on the white flag.
Where's the challenge going to come from? Is it somewhere behind these top 3, or is the call going to come from inside the house? Seth the Merchant in line in second. Does he make a move? No. He'll hold steady, and Tucker Minter opens the campaign with a heat race win. Trouble beyond the start-finish line behind him, but for the second heat race in a row, your race winner only leads the final lap.
Hey, you know what, Evan? We heard with Steven Wilson after he won the pole in this heat, and he said he wasn't expecting it to be that clean. Well, we go the entire way without a big crash. So Tucker Minter doing a masterful job at getting to the front when it mattered, and we were a little cautious about whether he would hold the lead, but a great job by Minter to get the Heat 2 win.
It is a good piece of driving. Your top 3 cars started 16th, 20th, and 17th on the grid. Minter, DeMerchant, and Bowden come home in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. Daniel Falkenham with a P4 finish in this one. Alexander Russell comes across the stripe in 5th, ahead of Michael Cozy Jr. in 6th, Graham Bolin in 7th, Stephen Wilson 8th, Dylan Duvall in 9th, and Colin Keister in P10.
Back in 11th is the Jim Beaver Esports Ford of Nate Stewart. Michael Guest back in 12th for Vegas Inferno. Quentin Warman led a couple laps but fell back to 13th at the Heat 2 checkered flag. Then Clampett, Euroshack, and you go down the list. 19 of the 20 cars ended this heat on the lead lap. Kwame Scott the only one without the good luck. 4 laps down at the end of it in P20. So that's your full list of everyone in heat number 2, and I believe we'll get a word with the winner of the second heat. All smiles, much like Brian LaPrade was at the checkered flag. We're joined now by William Byron Esports' Tucker Minter. Tucker, how did it feel out there? Very clean racing, lots of chaos, but you end up with the win at the end.
Yeah, I mean, it couldn't have worked out better for me, obviously. I really thought we were going to have quite a few big pileups with the way we were racing up there, 3 wide, everybody pushing really hard, but I guess that's what's great about racing in this series. Everybody's able to hold on to it when it gets really hairy. So luckily, Arch and I had a plan starting at the back of the pack right there, and we just kind of kept the course, stayed out of trouble, and at the end, it ended up panning out for us.
You guys had the advantage of watching Heat 1, then taking part in Heat 2. Now the feature next up, what do you try and look for in that 20-lap feature?
Yeah, I mean, track position is really important, and it's really important to be on the outside line. We're pulling a ton of RPMs. We're actually really close to hitting the chip if you get a really big run. So that makes it really tricky to make the middle work and everything like that, and makes the bottom kind of fade really quickly. So it's going to be all about placing yourself in the outside line with enough temperature to push at the right time down at the end of the race.
Well, Tucker, we appreciate the time. Best of luck in this feature race, and congratulations on the Heat 2 win. That is Tucker Minter for William Byron Esports. To the win in heat number 2, he'll start on the outside of the front row. Very good look to the green flag, I'd say.
It'll be a nice seat. I don't know how long it's going to hold on based on how much movement we saw in 10 laps. We'll double up the laps. We'll also double up the car count when we get set to do this with your full field. Let's check back in, though, with our countdown to green crew. Guys, what'd you think about that one, Camille? Pretty exciting start to the day, I'd say.
More than exciting. I was worried there that there may have been a little bit more wrecks than we saw, which is good. Like Minter said, they were able to hold their own. But Alan and Ryan, I'm wondering what you guys think. Of course, we have, LaPrade take heat 1, Minter take heat 2. Was that what you were expecting, Alan?
A little bit. I mean, we saw the veterans really rise to the top at the end of both of these races, and I love the real-world connection. Brian LaPrade's owner, Dale Jr., pretty damn good at Daytona. Tucker Minter's owner, William Byron Esports. William Byron, the Daytona 500 winner. I think there's a little real-world connection there, Ryan. It's who's having success tonight on the track.
Well, the biggest thing that I saw was a tale of two races right there. That first race, it was all about teamwork. Who's going to work with who? You saw the Williams Esports drivers working together, pushing through the field, and then you also had former teammates in Casey Kerwin and Malik Ray working together in heat race number 1. So it was a very interesting race there, and then you go to heat number 2, and it was a big pack, but we're going to take a look at heat race number 1 here and kind of go through it all right here.
Yeah, clean start, at least, right to start this first heat race, but it got aggressive, and it got aggressive fast. We saw one of the big cautions early on in this race, and again, there were big-name drivers, veteran drivers, who started in the back, and they ended up taking the brunt early on. This is Matt Busa there, and Tucker Minter's teammate there for William Byron Esports. They ended up not having a great race, but then it came down to the former champ. I picked him to win the whole thing tonight. Look how fast he goes from back to the front of this field, Ryan. Casey Kerwin.
Yeah, I mean, like I mentioned, they were former teammates last year, both Malik and Casey Kerwin, and they worked together some of the best. The only people that really had anything for them was the Williams Esports duo. Heat number 2, we saw a totally different race. This race got started a lot cleaner. They remained kind of too wide, single file for the first, I'd say, 5-6 laps. But then we got into an absolute mega pack. Everybody was 3 wide, slam drafting. It wasn't bump drafting, it was slam drafting. You look at the stacks up top, stacks in the middle, you see all these guys. Look at this crazy move by Connor Urashak. He saves that race car. I don't know if you guys can see me at the bottom of my screen. My arms were flailing. I thought that was going to be a wreck for sure.
Yeah, there were definitely a lot of close moments there, but I think, overall with these two heats, what you're seeing, lots of movement, and you're seeing that they're giving it all. They're really showing up, which is interesting because you think something like the Clash, maybe they want to hold a little secret in their back pocket, and don't want to put it all on the line, but I feel like our drivers are like, hey, don't underestimate them. That's the point that they're trying to make. Now, let's talk about something that we did in Countdown, a pre-race. Picks. How do you feel about how your picks performed? Ryan, let's start with you.
Well, my pick, Michael Cozy Jr., he had a bit of a so-so race. I'd say it was almost uncharacteristic. I'm used to seeing my guy up at the front, battling for the lead, making crazy moves, but he kind of just was reserved. He hung out at the back, but he rallied forward. I think he worked himself into a mid-top 10 position there, so he's got himself an okay starting spot. But, at the end of the day, the heat race don't pay. The main event pays.
Well, with that, why don't you check in with Michael? Because I feel like you just should. Find out what happened.
Cozy, you were my pick in pre-race. Walk us through this heat race here. I was expecting you at the front, man. I mean, what was the strategy here? Was there a strategy to that, or was that kind of where you were placed?
Nah, I mean, there ain't no strategy tonight, man. We're just letting it rip. It really came down to just the first lap. I started top, P6. I didn't want to be the first guy to force middle because I thought they'd all hang me out there. And for staying top, I, got hung out anyways. So I was just trying to, fight my way back up there the whole 10 laps. I didn't have a lot of time to do it. But by the time, we started carving our way back up there, they had 3 by 3 by 3 by 3. So I somehow, slipped back up there and got back to where I started. But, hopefully we'll have a little better go as 20 here.
I was going to say, you probably had a lot of guys in heat race number 1 that you might want to work with here. Do you kind of feel a little bit better about your chances with longer race, with everybody back in this one? Do you think you kind of got a little bit of a better situation here going in the main?
No, not at all. I don't know who anybody is, and I was just having fun out there, man. We're going to let it rip. We're going to see where we end up. We didn't reckon the last one, so we'll see if we keep it clean in this one, and if not, we'll see you in the care center.
Absolutely. Well, Michael Cozy Jr., thank you for the always entertaining interview, and Camille, I'll hand it on back to you.
I mean, it's just such a great time. Alan, you got to check in with Casey. Who was your pick?
Yeah, my pick, mostly because look at that trophy sitting next to him. Former champion Casey Kerwin, you are Mr. Clash. I'm feeling really good right now because you went from the back of this field all the way to the front, leading at the white flag. Describe your heat race and how you did it.
Yeah, it was very exciting. The runs are massive, especially when people keep taking them, and I think the second heat was a little bit more calm and kind of stayed in line. Whereas we all kind of just kept taking every run we could, which then gets separation and builds bigger runs, and it was just pretty hectic. But it was a lot of fun. I worked with Malik, as we do quite often on the super speedways, and got to the front and had a shot at the end. It's hard to control it at the end with how big the runs are, but hopefully learned a little bit that if I'm in the position at the end of the feature that I have a shot and can do a couple spots better. But yeah, it was a lot of fun and good to mix it up with everyone again.
You said it yourself, but you're repping a new team this year. You want them to get him to victory lane. What'd you learn? What can you do different with one lap to go to keep yourself in that position?
Probably just throw more caution to the wind, honestly. I mean, there's going to be some huge runs. And then I just felt like I was in a good spot and probably for the heat wasn't going to throw some huge block. But yeah, I mean, coming to the end of the feature, you're probably going to try and throw a bigger block or something like that as well. So there's so many different situations that can happen with how big the run's going to be. So hopefully what I learned can apply, but it probably end up being some new situation that I'll have to try and guess correctly on the fly. So we'll see. Hopefully have a shot at the wind or end up in the catch fence.
Yeah. Well, good luck out there. It's going to be a fun race. Camille, I am feeling great right now. Oh, look, our boy's here. Our boy Blake. How you doing?
What's up, y'all? Blake, welcome to back to Countdown. But on the other side of the desk, how do you feel about your performance in Heat 1?
I felt pretty good about it. We were going to use it to learn, and I learned that you can't lose the draft. So was working with Breyer there to try to get him the lead, and just got a little too far out there, and had the side draft kind of work against me. So, which again, good learning experience, because that's something we can carry into this feature. That's something that we can carry forward into this race. But just really excited for this one. That first heat was really fun to be a part of. I'm sure this is going to be a lot of fun, and going to have a lot of fun this year with C4 Energy. In this number 8 Junior Motorsports Chevrolet. It's going to be a great time.
Well, Ryan was talking to Michael Cozy earlier, and he was just saying, there's no planning. It's just letting it rip. It is the Clash. It is to have fun. But going into, obviously, looking a little bit further ahead to next week at Daytona, what are you hoping to learn from here that you could apply to that race?
Just how runs build, how they develop. It's really hard to learn because, again, the runs and the momentum, everything changes. It happens so fast. I think I went from 14th to 3rd back to 14th in like 2 or 3 laps in that heat, which we'll have more cars on track, so it'll be a little more stable throughout the field. But, yeah, it's a lot to try and learn. And I got to learn a lot of these guys, right? These guys have been competing in this series for years, and a lot of them I haven't raced with too much. So, trying to build some respect with these guys and build a good rapport so that, we can go out there and hopefully not tear up too much stuff this year with our C4 Energy Chevrolet.
All right. Well, wishing you all the best as you go into that longer race.
Also, thanks for picking me. Camille's a real one.
Hey, wait. Remember, Alan and Ryan did not pick you. So next time we see each other.
I never forget.
I got one thing I need to say. Blake, look, you spent the last few years up here, watching everybody hang out, critiquing, I guess you could say, right? So I feel like we reserve the right to just kind of go all in on you. Like, if you make a mistake, it's always your fault, right? If you're in the big one, it's your fault.
Oh, for sure. But hopefully we won't do that. But
you're too kind. You're too kind.
I know I'm fair game, but again, Camille, I appreciate it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, sorry, Blake. I wanted to pick a winner, especially for tonight. They say the best way to measure yourself is to look at your teammate. Your teammate just won the race, and you were way far back.
So for the pushes.
All right, taking credit already.
Moral support and learning opportunities. Thank you so much, Blake. We're wishing you all the best in the long race. I mean, we got to get it all out, at least for the Clash. We get all the Blake, teasing out for this race, and then we go back to business next week, right?
We kid because we care, right?
Yeah. That's how you gotta be. You gotta be. I'm the one who's taking up his box over here on the right side of the screen, so I gotta be able to I've reserved the right to make fun of him.
And you know what? Hey, we'll let the viewers decide if we have the right to keep ragging on him the whole time. But for now, why don't we check out the last bit of the race? It is a long one. This is the Clash at Daytona. Stay tuned right after this commercial break. Thank you.
Every time you sit behind the wheel, you buckle up for the unexpected. You get ready to take on the competition and brace yourself for the chaos, the speed, the weather, the unknown. But above all, when strapping in, you put trust in yourself, your intuition. Make it your guide to win, your drive to win.
He's a winner in this.
And nothing is going to stop you from winning.
Back live at Daytona, where coverage of tonight's race is brought to you by Sunoco. From fueling your favorite NASCAR teams to filling up at the pump, Sunoco is trusted to help vehicles perform at their peak. Sunoco, performance is what we do. By Logitech. Through design, engineering, and a love of driving games, Logitech G takes racing simulation to another level. Logitech G, the official wheel and pedals of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing series. And by Coca-Cola. By Coke Zero Sugar. Is it the best Coke ever? Try and decide. Well, right now, with 10 laps in your back pocket apiece, these drivers have tried. Now they need to decide how they're going to go and win this clash at Daytona. Happy to have you back inside of the broadcast booth. Kenneth Bueno, myself, Evan Pasoko, and chaos, which is kind of what we've expected, whether it's been at the Coliseum or back here in Daytona in recent years. Just a lot of pent-up excitement, a lot of pent-up energy. I don't know if that's really going to change. If anything, I think it gets a little bit worse when we double the car count for this main event.
And after what we saw in the first two heat races with the insane blocking and the wiggling all over the racetrack, I mean, you double the field, it's going to be even crazier when you look at how the race is going to go with a win on the line for the clash. I mean, again, there's no stakes, there are no grand prizes, there's not a ticket to the playoffs, which you can argue that, sure, the drivers won't try as hard, but they will go all out to have fun and get used to their competition around them.
And again, the changes from the heat races to the feature is not only does the lap count double up to 20, but there is the possibility of admin cautions. If you're new to this series, most races will have automatic cautions that are triggered by the sim if there's an accident. Well, it is a live race control decision in this feature if there are caution flags or not. So think if that racetrack is going to be clear, that by the time the leaders come back around, probably staying green. So I would not count your strategy on getting restarts in this main event. But for the first time of this year, we roll off pit road 40 cars strong. Let's take a look, Kenneth, at our Logitech G race format.
Well, we had our heat races only be 10 laps. This is going to double that. 50 miles from the World Center of Racing at 20 laps. It is still a dash to the finish at around 16 and a half minutes if we go flag to flag. Pit road speed limit at 55 miles an hour, but probably will not be a concern as strategy won't take place in this race. It's only so short. Tire sets are there if the drivers need it, but probably won't be a big issue either. We've got fixed setups tonight, so again, the teams cannot touch what these cars are like on track. They will just have to deal what's given to them.
And the front row going to be made up by your heat race winners. So it is the Junior Motorsports 88 machine of Briar LaPrade and the William Byron Esports 97 to Tucker Minter on row number 1. Row number 2, the BS Competition 89 and Jordy Lopez, and the FGR XL E-Racing 14 of Seth DeMerchant. Back on row number 3, the Kansas City Pioneers number 24 of Casey Kerwin, and the RFK Racing number 6 of Colin Bowden. Back on row number 4, it is the ERA Esports team number 22 of Bobby Zelensky and the 6 Karma number 39 of Daniel Falkingham. And on row number 5, the Vegas Inferno number 1 of Malik Ray and the Kanani Sports 66, that's Alexander Russell.
And then back in row number 6 is the inside of the defending champion of the Coke Series, the number 95 for Williams Esports, Parker White, with Michael Cozy Jr. going to let it rip from the outside of the 6th row for his ERA Racing team. Kevin Harvick Incorporated has Jimmy Mullis on the inside of row 7, car 29, with Graham Boland for the KCP Kansas City Pioneers on the outside in car number 48. Femi Olan for Spire Motorsports will drop the 7 car in position 15. Steven Wilson, who led to the green flag from heat number 2, fellow Spire teammate number 77 on the outside. Zach Novak and Dylan Duvall, pair of Channel 199 sim racing cars on the inside and outside of row number 9. And then rounding out the top 20, Christopher Hill for the Apex Racing team and Colin Keister, rookie driver in the 15 for Jim Beaver Esports.
Row 11's got the 6 car number 19 of Eddie Kerner, the Jim Beaver Esports number 5 of Nate Stewart. 6 of these 10 cars coming up next, all rookies in the field. That includes Blaze Crawford, the Team Dillon Esports number 3 car. He's next to the Vegas Inferno 21 of Michael Guest. Lucky row 13. We'll see the Williams Esports 51 of Donovan Strauss and Quentin Warman, one of the rookies in the field. He pilots the number 50 car. We just heard from this man, Blake McCandless, the Junior Motorsports number 8 car, starts inside row 14. That's the E-Racer 42 of Logan Clampett alongside him. And back on row 15, it is the FGR 12 of Luza and the rookie in the Letard Esports 40. That's Yurashek.
And then you've got the several rows of drivers that have a lot of work cut out for them in this Clash race. Brian Mercurio in replacement of Vicente Salas just for tonight for Kanan Esports will roll off inside row 16. Dylan up for Hayek Motorsports in the 47 will be on the outside in 32nd. Cody Bias for Apex Racing will be inside row 17. Timmy Holmes in 34th, followed by Taylor Hurst, Garrett Lowe, Nick Ottinger, Tyler Gary, Matt Busa, and the number 36 of Kwame Scott for Letard Esports, bringing the rear of the 40-car field in the Coke Series Clash for 2025.
Hey, so look top to bottom at your Coca-Cola starting grid. Yeah, there's no points on the line. There's no money on the line yet. We're going to have to wait 2 weeks until we do it, air quotes, for real. But why not? It feels real. It's Daytona. It's January. We're ready to go back racing and drop a green flag in front of 40 cars for the first time in a couple of months. And as always, we're happy that you're strapped into the virtual seat and along for the ride with us. Pace car down and in. LaPrade and Minter in control of the field. Let's go racing at Daytona. On board with Alexander Russell, 3 wide, who is outside, there's trouble, it's Russell! He spins in front of the field, the 48 machine involved also, it is a track blocker in turns 1 and 2, and we will have a caution flag.
For the first time all night through the heat race is clean for the most part. No yellows thrown until this very moment. We can't even get lap 1 complete, and they were already pushing 3 wide. I saw the ERA Racing car of Michael Cozy Jr. push on the outside 3 wide, but it's where Alexander Russell is in the middle of the racetrack where the trouble begins, and it looks like Brian LaPrade will lead this one back to the stripe. Not that much movement up at the front, but all of the circulation happened behind, and we get our first big crash of the Clash.
Yeah, we'll wait for the second look. This feels like Russell's kind of in between 2 lanes, right? He's trying to follow the 39 machine in front of him. That's the outside lane that he was in with Daniel Falkenham. But because Cozy was up on that 3rd lane, the 48 machine behind him of Graham Boland is lower than the 66. And I don't know if Russell knew. Was that 48 and the 77? Were they trying to go to a 3rd lane, or were they still trying to push him, but they just had to go way lower to yield to the 34? Whatever the explanation was, the replay will show you those cars were not lined up, and that is a one-way ticket to a big mess. Again, watch that 34 go topside, and then that 66 kind of ends up in between 2 lanes by the time they get to turn 1.
Well, the product of it, Evan, is the cars stacking up, and that's what happens a lot with these next-gen cars. When you have a push from behind, and when there's not that much movement up in the front, you've got a car that basically goes between the car in front and the car behind. It's sort of ping-ponging back and forth between the front and rear bumpers of the cars around you. So Alexander Russell, I mean, he's just following in line with Daniel Falkingham, thinking it's business as usual, but Graham Boland, when he gets the push from Steven Wilson, cannot ignore the shove, so he has no choice but to get into the rear end of Russell's machine. And And with the curved rear bumpers on these cars, automatically sends you a forward trajectory into the outside wall. So for Russell, I mean, there was nothing he could do there, just a bystander in this situation. And when you've got a car spinning in the middle of 3 wide action at Daytona, it usually means you don't have a much place to go, and it means more cars get involved.
That was a good onboard there with that 5 of Nate Stewart. He got on the binders, and I was kind of bracing, waiting for a car to get into the back of him, but everybody else behind able to wall him down also. Again, we weren't even at speed yet, and Russell, despite having sheet metal and all kinds of different bits and pieces flying in front of him, does not get a ton of damage in that one. The 66, the 48, kind of the biggest with damage, a bit on the 77 of Steven Wilson. The 199 of Duval gets a touch of damage as well, but for a big mess, I think for some drivers that certainly could have been a lot worse. And in this preseason clash, yeah, we'll just re-rack them and go right back at it. Lights already out on top of the pace car. LaPrade maintaining control in this field. So yellow's not going to take a big chunk out of our lap total, but they are counted against the lap counter. Candace will be down 3 laps in the books by the time we go back green.
And I don't really know if this instance sort of calmed the drivers down and maybe just got them more amped up because they didn't really have a full green flag lap of action around them to enjoy. So now they're sort of like, this is our part 2, right? We've got to get ourselves back in the way. We got to get ourselves back amped for the green flag and then do what we got to do to move up through the field or keep our position at the front. I'm excited to see what these guys at the front do specifically because LaPrade played some pretty good defense, did some good offense there in the heat that he was in. Jordi Lopez had some shines out there for BS Plus competition. So if they can hold on to where they are in the first segment, it'll be really fun. But as for lap number 4 on this restart, Evan, probably should expect the same chaos we did at the beginning.
20 laps is not a lot of time if you're sitting in the 30s. So everybody going to be aggressive. Pace car back down and in. Different restart procedure. This time LaPrade decides when we go back green. Green flag drops. Good advantage to the inside, but man, that bottom really strung out. LaPrade jumps to the outside. He wants to pick up the push from Lopez and Kerwin, who are working together right now on the top side of the racetrack, and see if those 3 cars can get up and through the gears for the first time. It's a quick move to the bottom. Kerwin already wants to go. Look at the 6 car about, and huge block from LaPrade.
Well, you know, it's a blessing and a curse if you're in a situation like LaPrade because, number one, you get such a huge run on everyone else that you have the lead outright. The only problem is you're at the mercy of the rest of the field in terms of draft. So while Timmy Holmes tried to make the move, or Colin Bowden did rather, through the middle, unfortunately did not pan out from the block by Briar LaPrade. And watch this, nearly 4 wide in the middle of the field. Cody Bynes, Michael Guest, and the rest trying to shuffle through the top 20.
Going the wrong direction and all of that. The number 17 machine dropping down the running order of Timothy Holmes. There's an odd board look with Femi Olatunbosin. He's right in the middle of it all, back in 21st spot. That leader looks awfully far away. That's only 1.1 seconds on the stopwatch. What does the driver at a Revere, Massachusetts do? He's trying to get to the outside of the racetrack. Maybe he and Guest even try to go to a 3rd lane, but instead they'll pull up to the outside. There's more cars up there, and we'll see if they can close in. It's 2 by 2 for the moment. Outside line has the strength and numbers as the 24 of Casey Kerwin leads off of the final corner. There's a look with Zach Novak. That's what you don't want to see on the 3rd lane. He finds an opening down low and hopes to get scooped up.
And then there's Jordi Lopez, who just makes the move up ahead on the inside lane. And so everyone in the back, I mean, you know they have a little more time left in the bank. It's 14 laps to go now instead of maybe about 5 or 4 laps to go if you were in that heat race. But you do understand that through the heat races tonight, you can gain or lose track position in a matter of seconds with the way these guys are racing. So I'd say if you're a guy like Michael Guest in the top 15 or Femi Olaf that we saw back in the 20s, you're probably not that scared or worried right now because if you push the go button, you're going to the front of the field. 3 wide, Malik Ray in the middle leading the group.
That's about the whole pack. 3 wide. The 3 gets into the outside wall. 4 wide for a moment as Blaze Crawford able to stabilize it. Are they gonna get through this? McCandless as well, 3 wide and 4 as they come through the tri-oval, and a lot of stacking up. I do not want to be playing bumper cars at 202 miles an hour, but that's what it's like to be a car in the midfield. Tucker Minter, his first look up as the race leader on the outside, as he's getting the push now from the 20 of Kerwin. LaPrade, Demergent, Lopez, the rest of the cars in the top 5 is that Falkingham looking to the inside. The 39 car drops down low, takes a big shot from the 1.
Yeah, that was a huge push from Malik Ray. Nowhere to go, and there's a spinner. Garrett Lowe in the middle of the group goes sideways off turn 4, but it's a single car accident, so the admins will not throw the yellow. That leaves Jordy Lopez without his BS Plus competition teammate, but Tucker Minter, several cars ahead, will lead the field back to turn 1, and Garrett Lowe, dagger, all out of luck at lap 8.
Separate trouble on the backstretch. Dylan Alt and a couple of other drivers as well involved in another accident. Brian Beccurio, several drivers. The 77 is Steven Wilson, but that was all behind the main pack. Barney the flagman keeps the yellow in his pocket, and we race on. It happened right here in 3. You can see the track clear by the time the race leaders have gotten here. If you're still getting acclimated with the new names, new numbers, and new teams, you can see those team affiliations listed on the left-hand side of your screen as that idiot LaPrade has been making big swings all night long. I don't know if that was an offensive move or a defensive move, but he traced Demerchant all the way to the double yellow line. Seth said, no thanks, I'll go up top side. Now the 14 leads on the very outside.
You know, Evan, it's a bit of half and half when you make a move like that to the inside, because on the offensive side of things, you're going for the race lead. That's plain and simple. But on the defensive side of things, it could be to preserve the car in the front, because if you get such a big run from behind, you get a big push that you cannot really do anything with other than shove the car in front of you. You don't want to give that big of a shunt to the car ahead, because you could ignite another crash. So what you do is you move out of the lane, you let the car pushing you follow you to either the bottom or the outside of the racetrack, and from there you keep everybody safe. But now Brian LaPrade has to play defense as the leader. Look at the big save in the back from P9. Zach Novak was nearly sideways in the middle of the field, but he keeps it straight.
Keeps it straight, loses a little bit of momentum, and it will space things out a touch as that save happened in the center of 3 wide. Gutsy spot to be in. Somehow, all those cars are okay. Now it's trouble. It's Demerchant. He'll spin down. He tags the 97. It's Tucker Minter. Can they hold it down on the transition? Yes, they do. Somehow more disaster is avoided. I thought for certain one of those cars would have came back up onto the banking. They don't. We stay green. Now look at the move by Novak. He comes to the race lead. Cozy sideways. Can he save it? Yes, he does. No holds bar racing at halfway.
And that was his teammate too, Cozy. Zelensky in the ERA racing car got to the back end and just sent Cozy sliding through the tri-oval grass. And luckily Cozy was able to save it. But look at the moves continuing at the front as the field thins out. Zach Novak swinging down low in front of Casey Kerwin, who just stopped over the radio to tell him what was going on. And Callan Bowden will lead the group on the outside with help from former series driver Logan Clampett. So a big move on the outside could be coming here out of turn 4. Zach Novak takes notice, and it is wild stuff with 9 laps to go this time at the stripe.
And some of those accidents that do not trigger to a yellow flag have separated the field. It hasn't calmed things down up front, but this look high and above into turn 1 shows you there are certainly less cars in on the fight. 15 cars, in fact, part of this lead battle, and then several subgroups of cars scattered all over this Daytona International Speedway, including that 48 car who goes by like he's standing still on the outside. Bolin now 2 laps down after being a top 10 car earlier in this feature race. Can anybody get control of this thing? Brian LaPrade has led 6. That's impressive of a tally considering how chaotic it has felt. And Parker White, the defending series champ, he gets his first lap led of the afternoon. Just for the 2 to go under him. Trouble there. The 9 gets turned down sideways. The 24 gets collected. And caution number 2 will fly. They're still wrecking in turn 1.
And there goes Alan Cavana's pick. Casey Kerwin turned around in turn 1. And again, it starts from a block. I mean, several moves in the middle of the field and several cars trying to fill space is all that creates that issue. And at this point, Zach Novak will hold on to the lead, but at the mercy of several other cars that just got expended there in the runaway to turn 1. It looked like when the Vegas Inferno Chevrolets got together and Malik Ray and Michael Guest, they had such a big run. Colin Bowden was right in front of them. Nowhere to go. Bowden gets hooked, and there's the yellow.
Let's wind it back and take a second look, and it's easy to kind of spot the gold Vegas Inferno cars coming into the picture. They're trying to go with that 88 LaPrade. They cut under him. There's the 6 machine moving down, and it was a pretty square shot the first time. Not that second one. Gets them on the left rear, turns them around. Yellow's already out at that point, and then right there, that 6 drifts back up, gets into the number 21 machine. You got to wonder if Bowden was not appreciative of the first bit of contact. I might have influenced the second bit. Here's Stewart's view.
Yeah, all the way to the back, sees the smoke, and luckily just breaks away from this thing. Sees Casey Kerwin sliding to the outside, and then sees more trouble develop right in front of him with Colin Bowden getting into the fellow car on the outside. And Nate Stewart, again, escapes in mayhem. Jim Beaver Esports have been kind of lucky throughout this clash, throughout the heats and the feature. But a lot of these crashes, Evan, are coming from the misaligned bumpers. You get some kind of a big run or a big push. You're already off the center line from the car in front of you. And again, that angle is more than enough at around 195 miles an hour to turn a car to the inside or outside. So it was really tough for Bowden there, who was just in the middle holding his ground. But, you know, you cannot control what happens behind you, which I guess makes the drivers think whether being at the back is relatively safer than being at the very front, because when you have to deal with blocks, much more dangerous than when you're dealing the pushes.
And that'll be a conversation we have as well when we do this thing for the season opener in a couple of weeks' time. Is, do you really want to be up and in this chaos for the entirety of that race, or is there going to be varying strategies? Obviously, in a 20-lap sprint, you don't really get that option. One other thing, as the lights go out on top of the pace car, we referenced that not all these cars are the same. Well, that is, of course, your defending series champion, Parker White. He's retaining those red decals from the Championship 4 race at Homestead. The roof number, the spoiler, the splitter, the windshield banner, just as a reminder to all of you at home, and I think more importantly, maybe Kenneth, to the competitors around him, what he did to them just a year ago.
And maybe even for himself. I mean, he told me a couple months ago that it hadn't really fully set in, that he was an eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series champion. And he told me it would take a couple of months for it to finally set in. Maybe now's the time, right? You've got a special paint scheme that only you harness, involved with everyone else that has the regular team paint schemes. You've got the special details that signify you are the reigning champion of the series. I'm sure as he takes the field now, he's probably thinking, wow, I am a champion. I'm going to have to hold my crown for the next couple months or so. And there are a look at the Clash winners. And usually the guys who win the Clash don't usually end up faring well in the main race. They got an average finish of 16.1 other than the winner last year, Wyatt Tinsley, who ended up taking the checkered flag here at the World Center of Racing. But there's a long list of guys. Parker White's not one of them. I'm sure he's going to look to add his name to the list inside 5 laps to go.
Yeah, once you've got the championship under your belt, then you just start going on kind of the side quests. I want to win a Clash. I want to win here. I want to win there. And that does not take away from Parker White's desire to go for the championship again. But he has that championship mentality where if it was up to him, he'd win every single one of them en route. He is in contention for this one. That yellow going to group everybody still left in this race up into one big pack, with 5 laps to go on the scoring pylon. Green flag back in the air. Another healthy jump for Novak on the bottom. Is it too big of a jump, though? He's gone to the outside. In a couple of these race charts, he doesn't do it this time. He stays low. White closes in. The outside gets grouped up a little bit quicker. Will that help Clampett, who leads the outside?
Well, there was a blessing there for Zach Novak because he didn't get an absolute shunt from Parker White. It was much like a pilot's approach, smooth and steady to the rear bumper, but now Novak gets shuffled out of line to the outside where Logan Clampett is there to pick him up. Parker White to the feature lead, coming to 4 laps to go, but look who's behind him, a hungry Jimmy Mullis and Daniel Falkingham. Here comes Nate Stewart, the rookie, with a look up high on Novak, and we're 3 wide out of turn 4.
Didn't take long. Which lane's going to be the best one? The middle evaporates off of the center. That's going to come back quick, but not the right time to make the move at the end, as that 2 machine, as Zach Novak drops 15 positions in the blink of an eye. New leader on the outside. It's the 29 machine of Mullis. Now the 95 and the 39 come up and shut the door. White obviously didn't like what he was seeing, but it opens up. Oh, there's trouble. It's Mullis around. Guest as well. Trouble on the back straightaway. It is a massive accident on the center of the Daytona super stretch, but up front we stay green. Race Control had said that they would put the caution in their back pocket. Can they let them go and race this one out?
But we're going to have to see where those crash cars are on the back straightaway. Some of them are still trying to get around underneath the double yellow line and merge safely so that they don't get in the way of these guys fighting for the Clash win. When you diminish the field to only about 9 or 10 cars, it really does get dangerous when you've got so many guys that can move or fall in just an instant. Look at the move on the inside. Tyler Gary, the Floridian, with help from Michael Cozy Jr. to the lead down the super stretch.
Gary leads the charge on the inside of the racetrack, but a couple of teammates now enter the picture. Look at the Williams cars up on the outside of the racetrack, and look at the other set on the bottom, the 39 and the 19 machine. They're lined up also. ERA cars close to each other with one on the inside and one on the outside. Plenty of options. Who is going to be able to link up with their teammate, and will that be a race-winning decision? Gary moves topside. He wants to split things up. Is the outside the place to be? Look at the 34. He drove Minter into the outside wall, but now lined up with his teammate.
I'm sure Minter now is just graduating from Furious Mad, and now he's just aggravated here. But look at the inside line. Only 2 cars there for 6 Karma. Daniel Falkingham and Eddie Kerner, who did relatively well in their heats, but they have no choice but to settle back. The real threat here is that we've got teammates lined up. Zelensky and Cozy on the same ERA team. Donovan Strauss and Parker White for Williams Esports at the back. 6 Karma, like I mentioned, with Falkingham and Eddie Kerner. Any of them could strike. Coming to the white flag in the Clash.
2.5 miles to go in the Clash at Daytona. Tyler Gary carrying the flag for E-Racer. Can he stay ahead of the ERA teammates? They're going to separate. Zelensky goes to the inside, but staying on the outside, the 34 of Cozy. Now it's the 22 of Zelensky, pushed by Minter.
And then we've got Tyler Gary, who's just looking to get the momentum back. As soon as you can get into the draft of a car, you could make a move. Here comes Zelensky swinging up high. He'll block Malik Ray into the outside wall. Donovan Strauss gets into the field. They're stuffing it up nearly in the corner, but Minter and Strauss, door to door, now they're wrecking off turn 4.
Big trouble. They're still wrecking. Tyler Gary gets through, but not as quickly as Parker White. And the defending champ gonna go back to back. Now he opens 25 with another Tuesday night checkered flag. When you're good, you're good. And Parker White finds the right place at the right time after a messy turns 3 and 4. And with the trophy behind him, the champ is victorious here in Daytona Beach.
Did a little shimmy with the hardware. How about it, Evan, getting the Clash win? Seeing everything part right in front of him. It was his teammate, Donovan Strauss, who was just getting away from Mayhem, ends up stacking up the group. And Parker White just sees everything happen and says, all right, I've got clean track. Let's go. Parker White, the winner in the Clash, and just picks off right where he left off from the championship win at Homestead last year.
And for all the teammate pairs that were there, none of them stuck together in the end. This first winning moment of 2025 is brought to you by Coca-Cola, the official fan refreshment of eNASCAR. And that's been a familiar sight over the last couple of years here in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Will it be a familiar sight this season as well? Parker White going to try to do something that nobody since Ray Alfalla has been able to do in 2011 and 2012, and that is to win back-to-back championships in the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series. Let's take a look at your Coca-Cola move of the race. It was set up by a restart, coming to 5 laps to go. And then you see the teammates lined up. In fact, 3 pairs of teammates lined up, Kenneth, as we came to the 1 to go.
And this makes a big difference here when you've got the Williams Esports teammates in the back. They know Malik Ray is ahead of him. They know Malik Ray wants to win here, so they start pushing the go button around this point, and that's where Tucker Minter comes into the foray, and so does Bobby Zelensky. They make the block, and just how quickly it goes from a single file line of cars to 2x2 action almost instantaneously. Zelensky just waiting to see when the next move will be unleashed, and that's when Parker White comes to the inside, makes a move on Cozy, and this is just patience right here, watching what happens up front and then being trustful in those guys behind, and as they stack up, as Zelensky hits the wall and as Strauss bounces off Tucker Minter not once, not twice, but 3 times, Parker White, in the mess of it all, comes through with a clean Chevrolet to the checkered flag in the clash.
It was a game of survivor in 3 to 4, and somehow in the end, Parker White ends up the last man standing, and he takes home the checkered flag here at iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway. It is a familiar place for the driver of the number 95 machine to be in. Let's talk with our race winner, Kenneth.
Well, Parker, you and I know this is a full circle moment for both of us, but you end up in the right place at the right time at the World Center of Racing for this win. What were you looking at coming to the white flag lap with your teammate Strauss in hand, and how did it all unfold from your eyes?
Yeah, I mean, I told Don coming to the white flag, like, you want to go low in 1? And he's like, yeah. And then Falconet went low behind me, and I think he went a bit too early, but I got hooked together. I was going to go with Cozy on the backstretch, but I decided to go low. I thought that'd be a bit better. But, yeah, before this race, I was just watching the Bunch of Lawn Care Series from 2020 at this track, and you broadcasting that race, and it's cool to see that now I'm here, and you're here in the booth, so that's very cool. But, I mean, that whole last lap, I didn't really know what to think. I was just going to not lift until I saw the checkered flag, so that's what happened. But yeah, I'm really not sure how that played out. I haven't watched the replay. All I know is there's cars going everywhere, and I was the only one that crossed the line. So
I like how it only takes an all right bet to make a move and start pushing forward in that white flag lap. Parker, you're the defending champion. You take the win here in this clash race. I know it doesn't really mean much in terms of the actual playoffs and the season to go, but in 2 weeks' time, we'll be racing here for real. How much momentum do you gain off this clash win for the opener in a couple of weeks?
yeah, I mean, my teammate Wyatt Sinsley won this race last season. Then he won the first race, Daytona, which I didn't think that would happen, and it did. So I don't know. We'll just have to see. Obviously, I really don't think it's fair to make that many comparisons to the Clash, the actual Daytona race. There's just so many differences. So we'll just have to see how it plays out in 2 weeks and just try to stay up front, stay consistent, and miss all the wrecks.
Well, Parker, we really appreciate the time. Congratulations on the Clash win for 2025, and looking forward to see you in the rest of the field take on this very same track in 2 weeks' time. So that is winner Parker White. Second place is Tyler Gary for Team E-Racer. Tyler, I'm sure you saw a lot on that white flag. There was a lot to digest there. You were in the push with Michael Cozy Jr., probably trusting him as one of those best super speedway racers. What did you see on that white flag lap?
Honestly, I saw a lot of Ks breaking down around me. I was just trusting Cozy to push me. Me and him have worked together a lot of times. I have a lot of experience working in these draft situations, so if I want anyone behind me, it would be him.
And now second here at this Clash race from Daytona. 2 weeks away, we've got the actual season opener. So what did you learn from this feature and the Clash race that you can probably take into race number 1 in a couple weeks?
I learned that I need to make less moves, actually. I kept trying things and making things happen, and I kept putting myself in bad spots because of it. So I just need to let things progress in the line I was in and naturally go to the front.
Well, Tyler, it's second place here at the Clash. Maybe it's one spot better in a couple of weeks. We'll just see. But congratulations and best of luck in the next couple of weeks following. That is Tyler Gary coming home in P2 for E-Racer. Evan, as we get a last look at what just happened on that white flag lap. I'm still trying to digest all of this. It was very wild in how Parker White got away with this.
And in the end, the Williams cars both have a really good chance to win this race, but not working together. They split up just before the white flag lap. And there you see the only car to make it through, I think with all of those beautiful paint schemes still on, is Parker White's car as he cruises to victory in the end. He leads 3 laps total en route to the race win in the Clash here at at Daytona. Let's talk results as the exhibition race to kick off the season is in the books, and you can see again White's final margin of victory 0.3 of a second over Tyler Gary, who comes home in P2. It is a great showing for the all-new team duo of the ERA group, as ERA Esports, the team owned by real-world race car driver Jesse Iwuji, brings home a third and fourth for Bobby Zelensky to Michael Cozy Jr. And the new team in the Vegas Inferno gets the top 5 with the one Malik Gray. Tucker Minter ends up in P6, Daniel Falkingham in 7th, Jordy Lopez in 8th, Seth the Merchant in 9th, and Casey Kerwin in P10.
Zach Novak finishes the clash in 11th place, followed by Eddie Kerner, who was right there in the mix of the white flag lap, but just got hit into the outside wall late. Quentin Warman, the rookie, comes home 13th, followed by Autoboss, Nick Ottinger 14th, Garrett Lowe 15th. And you run down the order, you've got Apex Racing with Cody Bias, Jimmy Mullis, Connor Euroshak, Nate Stewart, the final car on the lead lap, and then Donovan Strauss, who was just several hundred feet away from the checkered flag, ends up in 20th.
Couple of rookies on this page with Christopher Hill 22nd and Blaze Crawford 24th. Also, Brian LaPrade led a race-high 6 laps. He only ends up with a reward of a 23rd after not making it to the distance. Both of the RFK cars down there in the high 20s also.
And then you've got 31st on back. These are all the guys that were mostly involved in that huge crash at the end. Femiolot, Colin Keister, Blake McCandless. The list continues. You guys like Steven Wilson back there in 37th, 13 laps down. Everybody here basically took the biggest brunt of the night with the big one down the super stretch. Not so much luck here in the clash. Hopefully better luck in 2 weeks' time in the real one.
And you don't have to go far if you want to catch us when we do it for real next time. It'll be right back here under the Daytona Beach sun as the season opener for the 16th season of the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series is coming at you on Tuesday, February the 11th, green flag at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. That race, 80 laps in length. Unlike the clash here tonight, fixed setups will not be in effect. And another big difference is we'll be talking money. We'll be talking points. We'll be talking playoffs. It's going to get real fast for the 40 best oval sim racers on the service here, Kenneth. And it's exciting to have you a part of the broadcast team tonight. Excited to be following the road to $500,000 with you for the next 18 weeks as we go on a road to a championship here in 2025.
Yeah, this one was fun. I'm really excited to see how the next several races go until the end of the season at the virtual Homestead Miami Speedway. But this is a really good indication as to what we might see in that main race. Of course, it's much longer, so probably so much more patience across the board. But what we saw is that drivers are willing to do almost anything to get a victory. And just like any super speedway race, if you're at the right place at the right time, you can end up with the hardware and the checkered flag in hand. And for Wyatt Tinsley last season, he was in the right place to get a playoff spot off the get-go. A driver who can do it this year probably has that advantage for the rest of the year to take notes and learn what they can do on the route to a championship.
Season starts in 2 weeks, and someone's season will change in 2 weeks. That is how important it is from the drop of the very first green flag, and we hope that you join us then in 2 weeks' time. Until next time, that is it for us on behalf of our entire team at NASCAR, iRacing, and your broadcast team tonight. For Camille, Allen, and Ryan on Countdown to Green, for Kenneth Bueno and myself, Evan Pasoko, I want to say thanks for tuning in, and we'll catch you in 2 weeks' time on Tuesday, February the 11th, for the season opener from iRacing's virtual Daytona International Speedway. That race and every race of the 2025 eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series can be found exclusively right here on the iRacing Esports Network. Until next time, good night from Daytona Beach, where the first checkered flag of the season in the clash goes to Parker White.